Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking back on Monero, its valuations against Bitcoin as well as the US dollar. Remember, if you do like this video and the other videos that I make on this channel, be sure to hit the like button down below and also consider subscribing. Now, Monero is one of the popular privacy coins on the market. Definitely has been one of the longer standing ones, with on Poloniex trading in 2014. Uh, you can't say the same for many coins in the top 100 at the moment that have been around for that long, and Monero is one of them. So luckily, we do have quite a bit of data to work with in regards to Monero. The more frustrating aspect of it was its lack of movement prior in 2020 and in early 2021, where in majority of 2020 actually was in this region here. We did see a move up from the main line, say around 762,000 satoshis, and wicking up about 54%, before subsequently just capitulating down and coming down to about 68% against Bitcoin, which had spent a number of weeks on, again, rallying back in the months of March and April, kind of around the same time when you saw other altcoins like Ethereum also beginning to make their move. But with Monero, it wasn't necessarily exceeding expectations. It simply just rallied back to where it was before, earlier in 2020. And you can see that right here. We're now trading at 742,990 satoshis, essentially where we were back, say, in July 13th, 2020. Because of this, it makes Monero a fairly frustrating asset to hold. Note that I don't hold Monero anymore. I sold my position back when I believe it was Bittrex decided to delist Monero. And up until that time, I said that, look, if exchanges are going to start delisting Monero, there's no way for me to sell it. And therefore, with that kind of risk, it's not necessarily something I'd want to hold on to. And at the same time, XRP is in kind of the same boat, where a lot of US customers cannot accumulate XRP. And because of that, that is also provided risk. Mind you, I'm not in America, but I do live in Canada, where you would say it more or less mimics the regulations of the United States, and so I have to keep a close eye on that. And holding both assets is highly risky, and if I were to choose one of them, I chose XRP to hold, at least for the time being. But we're here talking about Monero. Monero is still, relatively stagnant since September of 2019. Essentially, if you discount the move up and the move down, we've essentially been going sideways for the past 2 years. And that is the frustrating part. Monero is not necessarily outpacing Bitcoin, nor is it bleeding against Bitcoin. It's just kind of, moving sideways at this point. And we don't necessarily, we haven't seen this necessarily lack of volatility of price movement in Monero's chart history. It was either going up or coming down, or giving us these insane swings like in the early years. We have not yet seen this kind of flat movement, although you can kind of assume that this move here kind of attributes to these moves here back in the day. So with that said, with Monero, you can't, if you do hold this asset, if there is one privacy coin that I would want to hold or keep in my portfolio, it would be Monero. Having said that, there is a risk in holding Monero, not because it's an altcoin, but necessarily because it's simply just not doing anything. That is the risk. And that is kind of something that I want to bring up to people when they're looking at certain assets to hold. And when you're thinking of the word risk, it's not necessarily attributed to the price going down or the likelihood of a price going down. You also have to take into consideration of how long you're planning to hold this asset, and if this asset's projection of ROI is worth holding it for that period of time. If you're holding an asset like Monero, you have to weigh the option, the risk of, well, what if it just continues to move sideways for years? In that same amount of time, you could have been holding a different asset, could have been holding something like Ethereum or Chainlink, Uniswap, assets that have been outperforming Bitcoin tenfold. And with that kind of reasoning, it makes it very difficult to have Monero in your portfolio. Regardless, if you are one that wants privacy coins, a privacy asset within your portfolio, Monero is probably the best asset to hold compared to any other, privacy or pseudo private coin. I mean, one pseudo private coin would be Dash, and Dash has just been terrible. I wonder if I can bring up the Bitcoin. Here we go on Poloniex. Yeah, Dash has just been bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and it's just not a good asset to hold. Zcash is another pseudo privacy coin, and for this one, it has also been bleeding, mainly because it's very hard to sell the idea of privacy coins. Not because, to you and I, when we think of privacy coins, we think of, this is the true version of what digital cash should be. You can't necessarily track cash, and so therefore you shouldn't necessarily be able to track transactions on digital cash. And so, with that sense, Monero would be one that really fits that narrative of an asset that of an asset that provides that function. However, it's very difficult to believe that governments are going to allow this to continue. Yes, Monero has been around for 20 for many years, longer than many other altcoins out there. But again, there is that looming risk of government regulation of clamping down on private or privacy coins, privacy assets, and that is another risk you must take into consideration. Having said that, when we look at the US dollar, Monero is holding the 20-week moving average fairly well, but at the same time, you can argue that a lot of assets are holding the 20-week moving average. You could say that Ethereum is holding the 20-week moving average. Celsius is also holding the 20-week moving average. Cardano is holding the 20-week moving average. I don't know if Litecoin is. Yeah, Litecoin broke. And XRP is holding the 20-week moving average, etc. So holding the 20-week moving average at this point in time isn't necessarily something unique. A lot of altcoins are doing so, and they're all beholden to the moves of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down 2.5% for today. If it continues to go down, well, guess what? That 20-week moving average is going to get broken off. Despite, there's 2 days, 3 days left in the week, so plenty of time to make a change and turn it around. But these are the inherent risks of Monero and any other altcoin for that matter. With that said, moving forward with Monero, what I expect in the long term, I simply don't know. I was kind of basing my projections off of the last cycle, and Monero kind of front run the cycle compared to other altcoins. That didn't necessarily happen, or at least if it did not meet my expectations. And so definitely it's a reevaluation on this asset for me on looking on how can it fit within my portfolio? Should I fit it within my portfolio? Again, depending on where you live, that is also a factor as well. Anyway, that is all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.